The last time we visited the town of Torchlight, it had provided us with a much-needed top-down click-to-loot distraction until the arrival of Diablo 3. It was a great game with some great ideas, but made the fatal error of failing to include multiplayer, one of the main draw cards for dungeon crawlers. Well, thankfully all is far from well in the mining towns. We must return there once again to battle those corrupted by the Ember, and this time we can do it with friends.
Hello, Skeleton. I'll just go on ahead. Heck, take care of things down here. Oh, cannon sucks. What have you got? Just a cat?
Come into my vortex of pain.
Hammer time.
What was that, sorry?
It's hammer time.
It's hammer time.
Hammer.
Torchlight is in more ways than you can count a Diablo clone, but it manages to carve a nice little niche for itself because it offers a similar experience but takes all the best bits from its muse and combines it with some new ideas too. It may not be as flashy or visually impressive, but it also comes at a fraction of the cost.
The game wastes little time on story. After destroying the evil beast Ordrak at the heart of the town's corruption, only his heart remained. The Alchemist, one of the playable characters from the original game, can't resist the call of the Ember within Ordrak's heart and is in turn corrupted as well. So a new set of heroes must set off in pursuit of this new villain, who is of course making a nice mess of everything. There's a decidedly cartoonier art style here, and you may recognise the art in the cutscenes as they were produced by the makers of Shank.
There are 4 character classes to choose from. The Engineer, a kind of steampunk-inspired melee fighter with some nifty gadgets. The Outlander, a nomadic ranged cowboy-type character who uses a few basic spells. The Berserker, who uses fast attacks and animal-inspired moves and fist weapons. And finally, the Ember Mage, an elemental spellcaster.
I like that the character classes weren't your cut-and-paste run-of-the-mill classes badge, so I was forced to break from tradition and I actually went spellcaster, which I really enjoyed. The skill trees are packed with ability options, and there are countless different ways you can spec each character depending on how you want to fight. I did miss that changeable rune system from Diablo 3, which allowed you to chop and change abilities on the fly, but I still really enjoyed deciphering this system as well.
Yeah, and it promotes replayability too, because you could re-roll the same class and play it a completely different way. My Engineer was a lot of fun. His 3 tree options focused on offensive and defensive augmentations, as well as construction. And this let me do things like cannons, mines, and these little steam-powered robots that send out bursts of mana and health.
Got a little healing robot. Just gonna chill out with us for a bit.
I love the healing robot.
Heal butt.
Give me mana, little guy.
My caster had fire, ice, and electricity elemental trees. I tried out all 3 and then settled on electricity, which later on in the game let me do some serious damage with lightning storms and all sorts of cool stuff. You can continuously build up the powers you have or keep adding to your abilities for a wider range of attacks, but there are also passive abilities as well, which you can choose to put points into, and I loved those. One created random events every so often in combat, like meteors or acid rain. Another would randomly teleport enemies away from me for a bit of breathing room.
It is great that you're not required to actually choose any of these if you don't want to. It does make point allocation a little bit stressful though, because it's essentially permanent. You can only respec your last 3 choices. At first there is a lot of pressure in putting in those points, but it's also nice being forced to live with the choices that you've made.
I also like that weapons aren't particularly locked to any classes too much. I mean, as a spellcaster I could still use pistols, crossbows, swords, as well as wands and staffs, of course. I did try using this cannon for a bit, but I felt a bit silly. The world is jam-packed full of enemies that are nicely varied with the occasional tough one thrown in. Some will go and grab buddies if you don't kill them fast enough, and you'll occasionally stumble upon areas that'll activate a little wave mode. But you really need to be playing this on veteran to get any sort of challenge out of it.
Yeah, what's happening to normal difficulty? Why is it so easy on normal? You can just blast through enemies with no effort at all. I hate to think what easy might be like.
Yeah, I started this on normal. When I got to the end of Act 1, I had 45 unused health potions. It is ridiculous, and to be fair, things do get a little bit trickier in Act 2, but not by much. And really, it's not till you play this on veteran that you encounter any sort of strategy in terms of what abilities to use and when.
You have perished.
Diablo was like this as well. So easy on that first playthrough. I don't know why they don't just make it challenging from the get-go. I don't replay that many games personally.
Yeah, I mean, you do pick up on the fact that it is seriously easy quite quickly, and you can change the difficulty on the fly without losing your progress simply by choosing the LAN option, because you can set the difficulty at the beginning of that. So it's not the end of the world, but I mean, it's still a strange design choice.
Normal is the new easy.
Then what's easy?
Easy, they just come up to you and say hello. The boss battles are a bit unimpressive. I mean, in fairness, they weren't that great in Diablo 2. I think the developers struggle with that top-down view and making it interesting and making each enemy not just feel like a tougher version of a normal enemy.
Yeah, I mean, at least in Diablo, though, there were more instances of environmental dangers that really kept you on your toes.
Here, there were certain occasions where the only reason I knew I was actually in a boss fight was the title at the start of the fight, letting me know I was about to take on someone important. Having said that, where a loot-driven RPG is concerned, there are elements here that just knock it out of the park.
Yes, pets! There are a variety of different pets you can choose to be your trusty fighting partner. You'll pick up enchanted collars and pet tags to keep them tricked out, and you can fish for enchanted seafood that will give them different buffs. But arguably one of Torchlight's defining features is that you can send your pet away at any time to sell your gear for you.
Your pet runs all these errands while you keep on clicking, and better still, you can give him a little shopping list of items like mana potions or identity scrolls to bring back upon his return.
Your pet returns.
It's genius, and the trade-off is that you don't have your pet fighting by your side for that period of time, but it is worth just being a bit careful for a couple of minutes to have this in the game, and I just hate going back and having to sell things hex, so it's so nice to have that automation in there.
Yeah, and you will be running out of bag space often because the loot chasing this game promotes is unending.
And the Guardian.
There are rare items, everything can be enchanted with random enchantments.
You are fortunate.
Some can be slotted with gems. Like other games of its kind, the loot drops are all random, so the search for that perfect set of gear is an eternal and unending quest in itself.
There's no auction house, which some may be a little miffed about, but personally I was happy not to have the stress of it all, to be honest. There is a maniacal glee that comes over you when you get tricked out on that perfect set of gear though, isn't there?
Yes, and speaking of maniacal glee, the outpouring of gold borders on ridiculous. Occasionally I would discover hidden rooms or portals that would lead me to some separate chamber, asking me to choose between doors. And you just know behind one of those doors is going to be a nasty surprise, but I guess I picked the right one.
You are fortunate.
Wow, look at all that gold! Yeah, get it, loot!
There are 3 acts to play through, and the locations are varied and beautiful, and the world has a uniqueness that sets it apart, however much we compare it to Diablo. This is very much Diablo light, but it may not have the polish or the depth of Blizzard's title, but you get a lot for what you pay for here.
Yeah, and it's great that they took the time to work on a decent multiplayer too. Just like Diablo, the difficulty is ramped up when playing with friends and automatically drops when a player leaves. Matchmaking all works well, and when you finish the game you can purchase additional dungeons with in-game gold to gain a few extra levels before attempting the whole thing again on a tougher difficulty, maybe on hardcore mode with that dreaded permadeath. What did you think, Barjo?
I loved how reactive all the animations were, and I just like these kind of games. I never think I'm going to enjoy a click 'em up, and then I get in there and I get in the zone. I wish there were more of them. This is a great sequel. I'm giving it 8 out of 10.
I thought it was such a vast improvement on the first game, and it just ticked all the right boxes for me. I had a great time. I'm giving it 9.